Hello, greetings, and thank you for joining me in this project. I imagine what it would be like if figures and beings from Western culture, whether historical or mythical or fictional, were to meet the Buddha. Each encounter serves as a creative exploration of how these individuals might engage with the Buddha's teachings, reflecting their own unique perspectives and experiences. It's a way to bridge diverse traditions and narratives, inviting thought-provoking and meaningful dialogues across time and culture. Today, we have an intriguing blend of artists and legendary characters, ranging from celebrated painters to figures from ancient myths. It's called List 50. Here's our guest list awaiting audience with the Buddha. Lord Melbourne, political mentor to Queen Victoria. Persephone, mythical underworld queen. Ovid, poetic storyteller. Cersei, the envious, powerful, enchanting sorceress. Ulysses, wandering hero. Scylla, Cersei's rival, the envious sorceress's rival. Sir Lawrence, Alma-Tadema, Victorian classicist painter. John Waterhouse, mythical romantic. William Blake, visionary mystic. Alfons Mucha, decorative illustrator from the Art Nouveau period. Lord Melbourne versus the Buddha, mentor of monarchy versus the teacher of detachment. Contrast in guidance and renunciation. Lord Melbourne, the Prime Minister of Great Britain and mentor to Queen Victoria, valued diplomacy and pragmatism, often stating, "Why not leave it alone?" He was a proponent of measured action, balancing tradition and reform. The Buddha, while also valuing wisdom and leadership, taught a radical detachment from worldly concerns. Leave it alone, not out of apathy, but out of insight into impermanence and non-attachment. This is the way to peace. Quirk and wit, known for his sharp wit and ease in navigating political intrigue, Melbourne famously remarked, "Things are coming to a pretty pass when religion is allowed to invade public life." The Buddha, while rejecting planned religiosity, encouraged a way of living rooted in ethical conduct and inner transformation. True practice is not public or private, but seen in the heart. It transforms the mind, unbound by praise or blame. Imagine Melbourne asking the Buddha, "Isn't it better to steer the world gently than to abandon it altogether?" The Buddha might reply, "Steering helps for a time, but freedom arises when one lets go of all clinging, even to the world itself." Attachment to power and influence. Melbourne's legacy lies in his guidance of the young queen and his navigation of political complexities. He believed in moderation, saying, "A little of what you fancy does you good." The Buddha, while recognizing the value of moderation, taught that true peace comes from relinquishing all attachment. Moderation is wise, but the heart finds its deepest peace when it is unshaken by craving or aversion. While Melbourne sought to influence wisely within the system, the Buddha revealed a path beyond all systems. Freedom is not found in ruling or reforming, but in letting go of all that binds. Sutta twist. The Buddha might share Chakravarti Sihanadi Sutta, which describes the duties of a wise ruler and the ultimate peace that comes from relinquishment. Govern wisely, give generously, and uphold virtue. Yet the greatest peace arises when the heart is free from all of governance, resting in the unconditioned. Melbourne, ever pragmatic, might respond, but without influence, how can one shape the better world? The Buddha would reply, the world shapes itself, bound by impermanence. True transformation arises when the mind is unshaken by gain or loss. This comparison contrasts Lord Melbourne's measured pragmatism, wit and influence with the Buddha's teachings of non-attachment and renunciation, and also ultimate freedom. Persephone is next. Persephone versus the Buddha. The queen of the underworld versus the teacher of liberation or beyond all dualities. Contrast in cycles and transcendence. Persephone, the Greek goddess of spring and queen of the underworld, symbolizes the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Her story reflects the seasons, with her disembarking in winter and return heralding in spring. The Buddha, while acknowledging the cycles of existence, taught the way to break free of all that arises, that it passes away. The wise seek liberation from the cycle of birth and death, finding the unconditioned peace beyond. Quirk and duality. Persephone exists between two realms, light and dark, life and death, embodying the duality of existence. She is both a nurturer and a figure of mystery, described in Homer's hymn to the Iliads, the all-inspiring goddess, crowned in splendor, who brings the cycle of seasons. The Buddha, while recognizing dualities, revealed the middle way that transcends them. Light and dark, joy and sorrow. These are the play of conditioned existence. The wise rest in equanimity, unshaken by dualities. Imagine Persephone asking the Buddha, how can I embrace both realms without losing myself? The Buddha might reply, do not cling to either. Freedom arises when the heart sees through all realms, resting in the unconditioned. Attachment to cycles and roles. Persephone's story illustrates attachment to roles and the inevitability of change. She is torn between her mother, Dhyamata, and her role as queen of the underworld. The Buddha taught that such attachments perpetuate suffering. Roles and relationships are impermanent, bound by craving. The wise let go, finding freedom beyond all attachments. While Persephone navigates the seasons and her dual roles, the Buddha pointed to a peace that transcends all cycles. The wheel turns endlessly, but the one who sees its turning is free. In a Sutta twist, the Buddha might share the Sanganyutta Nikaya 12.1 on dependent origination. From ignorance arises volitional formations. From formations, consciousness. This is the cycle of becoming. Seeing it clearly, the wise abandon craving, bringing the cycle to an end. Persephone, pondering her cycles, might ask, but isn't life richer for its contrasts and returns? The Buddha might reply, contrast enriches only the conditioned. True peace is found in the unconditioned, beyond all coming and going. This comparison contrasts Persephone's duality of cycles and symbolic roles with the Buddha's teaching of transcending dualities, breaking the cycle of rebirth and attaining liberation. Ovid is next. Ovid versus the Buddha, the poet of transformation versus the teacher of liberation beyond change, contrast in transformation and transcendence. Ovid, the Roman poet, known for metamorphosis, captured the essence of transformation in myth, weaving tales of gods and mortals changing forms. He wrote, "Everything changes, nothing perishes." Ovid celebrated change as an eternal and creative force. The Buddha, while also teaching the impermanence of all things, revealed a deeper truth. All that changes is bound to suffering. The wise see beyond transformation, resting in the unchanging peace of liberation. Quirk and storytelling. Ovid's genius lay in his ability to humanize the divine and immortalize the human through storytelling. He declared, "Happy is the man who has broken the chains which hurt the mind and has given up worrying once and for all." The Buddha, too, used stories and metaphors, but aimed to liberate the mind from all chains, including attachment to stories themselves. Stories inspire, but bind when clung to. The wise let go of tales, seeing directly the truth beyond words. Imagine Ovid asking the Buddha, "Aren't all transformations what make us human and divine?" The Buddha might reply, "Transformation reflects impermanence, but true peace arises when the heart is free from becoming." Attachment to art and legacy. Ovid's exile from Rome reflected his deep attachment to his art and its power to immortalize him. He wrote, "I will live forever through my verses." The Buddha, while valuing the transmission of teachings, cautioned against clinging to legacy or identity. Fame and name are impermanent, bound to birth and death. True freedom lies in letting go of self and all that seeks to create. While Ovid immortalized change through art, the Buddha pointed to the timeless freedom beyond all creation. The unconditioned is free from arising, ceasing, and becoming. Sutta twist. The Buddha might share the Udana 8.3 on the unconditioned. There is, monks, an unborn, an unbecome, unmade, uncompounded. If there were not, there would be no escape from the born, become, made, and compounded. Ovid, ever the storyteller, might ask, but isn't immortality found in what we leave behind? The Buddha might reply, immortality lies not in what is left behind, but in the cessation of becoming. Let go, and you'll know the peace unbound by creation. This comparison contrasts Ovid's celebration of transformation, storytelling, and legacy with the Buddha's teaching of impermanence, renunciation, and liberation beyond all becoming. Cerse is next. Cersei versus the Buddha, the enchantress of power versus the teacher of freedom beyond control. Contrast in power and liberation. Cerse, the sorceress from Greek mythology, embodies the allure of power and transformation. With her magical abilities, she could reshape reality to her will, famously turning men into beasts in Homer's Odyssey. She declares, "What is the use of power if not to remake the world?" The Buddha, while recognizing the temptation of power, revealed that true freedom lies in relinquishing control. Power binds the mind with craving. Freedom arises when one sees beyond control to the peace of letting go. Quirk and enchantment. Cersei's mastery of potions and spells reflects her desire for dominance, but also her isolation. As she remarks in Madeline Miller's retelling, "All my life I have been working the depths, but I was not a part of that dark water. I was a creature within it." The Buddha, while acknowledging the murky depths of human suffering, taught that the path to freedom requires neither dominance nor submission. The mind is murky when bound by craving. The wise cultivate clarity through virtue and meditation and wisdom. Imagine Cersei asking the Buddha, "How can one afford being consumed by the darkness of the world?" The Buddha might reply, "Darkness ceases when one lets go of craving for light and shadow alike. See through the illusion, and the heart will rest in peace." Attachment to power and vengeance. Cersei's actions are often riven by revenge and a desire to protect herself from harm. Her enchantments reflect her struggle to assert control over her life and others. The Buddha taught, such attachments perpetuate suffering. Hatred is never appeased by hatred. Only by letting go of power does the heart find peace, while Cersei wields power to shield herself. The Buddha revealed that true security comes from relinquishing the self. The one who abandons the self is beyond harm. Sutta twist. The Buddha might share the Dhammapada 5, which speaks to overcoming hatred. Hatred is never appeased by hatred. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. This is an eternal law. Cersei, intrigued but skeptical, might ask, "But doesn't power protect us from harm?" The Buddha would reply, Power is fleeting, bound by conditions. True freedom arises when the heart is unshaken, free from all craving for control. This comparison contrasts Cersei's desire for power, vengeance, and transformation with the Buddha's teachings of non-attachment, insight, and liberation beyond control and craving. Ulysses is next. Ulysses versus the Buddha, the cunning adventurer versus the teacher of the peace beyond the journey. Contrast in journeys and liberation. Ulysses, the hero of Homer's Odyssey, is defined by his long and arduous journey onto Ithaca, his adventures that had a relentless pursuit of purpose despite hardships. He proclaims, "I am a part of all that I have met." For Ulysses, life is a voyage of discovery and endurance. The Buddha, while recognizing the value of perseverance, taught that true peace lies in ending the cycle of wandering altogether. The wandering of existence leads only to suffering. Freedom arises when the journey ceases and the heart rests in the unconditioned. Quirk and resourcefulness. Ulysses is celebrated for his wit, cunning, and resilience, famously outsmarting the Cyclops with his declaration, "My name is nobody." The Buddha too valued skillful means, yet his teaching transcended cleverness. Cleverness wins battles, but wisdom sees through the need for battle. Let go of conflict and the mind will rest in peace. Imagine Ulysses asking the Buddha, "Isn't life itself the greatest journey?" The Buddha might reply, "Life is a journey bound by craving. True peace arises when the journey ends and the heart is unshaken by coming or going. Attachment to home and identity. Ulysses, his identity is tied to his role as king, husband, and father. Driven by his longing to return to Ithaca, he states, "There is nothing we are to a man but his home." The Buddha, while valuing connection, revealed that attachment to identity and place binds the mind. Home, identity, and self are impermanent. The wise let go, finding freedom beyond all belonging. While Ulysses sought meaning in his return, the Buddha taught liberation from all destinations. The one who sees the impermanence of all journeys is free. The Sutta twist. The Buddha might share the Sada Sutta, which discusses ending the mental wanderings that perpetuate suffering. Not by wandering does one overcome suffering, but by letting go of craving and views. Seeing clearly, the mind finds peace. Ulysses, ever the voyager, might ask, but doesn't the journey define who we are? The Buddha might respond, the journey is a story the mind tells. Freedom arises when the story ends and the heart is unbound by searching for a place. This comparison contrasts Ulysses' adventurous spirit, attachment to home, and reliance on cunning with the Buddha's teaching of insight, renunciation, and liberation beyond journeys and identities. Scylla is next. Scylla is Cersei's rival. Remember Cersei, the envious, powerful sorceress? She had a rival called Scylla. Scylla turned into a monstrous sea demon. So, Scylla versus the Buddha, the embodiment of fear versus the teacher of fearlessness. Contrast in fear and liberation. Scylla, the sea monster from Greek mythology, embodies terror and destruction, guarding the narrow strait alongside Chenung Beast. Sailors dreaded her voracious appetite and her many snapping heads. In Homer's Odyssey, she is described as a grisly monster with 12 legs like great tentacles and 6 long necks with grisly heads lined with triple rows of sharp teeth. The Buddha, while recognizing fear's power, taught the path to transcend it entirely. Fear arises from attachment and ignorance. The wise abandon all clinging, finding fearlessness and insight in compassion. Quirk and monstrous rage. Scylla's legend reveals her as a victim of transformation. Once a beautiful nymph, she was turned into a monster by Cersei's jealousies. This backstory speaks to the suffering of vengeance and craving. The Buddha, addressing transformation and suffering, taught hatred and jealousy bind the mind to suffering. The wise abandoning ill will, cultivating peace that cannot be shaken. Attachment to vengeance and form. Scylla's monstrous form symbolizes clinging to rage and her untwisted identity as a destroyer. In contrast, the Buddha revealed that attachment to form and identity perpetuates suffering. Be it a monster or a king, all forms are impermanent. Freedom arises when one sees through the illusion of self. While Scylla symbolizes destruction and fear, the Buddha pointed to the stillness beyond fear and form. The heart unshaken by rage and rest, it sits in the peaceful, unconditioned. Sutta twist. The Buddha might share the Metta Sutta, which transforms fear into loving kindness. May all beings be happy and secure. May they be free from fear. Cultivating mind of boundless compassion, embracing all beings as a mother embraces her child. This comparison contrasts Scylla's embodiment of terror, monstrous transformations, and detachment to vengeance with the Buddha's teachings of non-attachment, compassion, and liberation from fear and rage. So Lawrence, Alma-Tadema is next. So Lawrence, Alma-Tadema versus the Buddha, the painter of antiquity versus the teacher of timeless liberation. Contrast in art and liberation. So Lawrence Alma-Tadema, renowned for his paintings of classical antiquity, celebrated the beauty of ancient worlds through meticulous detail and luxurious depictions. His work often evoked nostalgia for Roman and Greek civilizations, with critics praising him as a poet of marble and sunlight. The Buddha, while recognizing the power of beauty, taught that true liberation lies beyond attachment to form or nostalgia. All forms, no matter how beautiful, are impermanent. The wise see beyond appearances to the peace which is unconditioned. Quirk and craftsmanship. Alma-Tadema's fascination with classical architecture, mosaics, and lush interiors revealed his commitment to detail and historical accuracy. He remarked, "Art is a bridge between the past and the present." The Buddha, too, spoke of bridging ignorance and wisdom, but cautioned against clinging to the past or the future. The past is gone. The future is uncertain. The wise rest in the present, unshaken by longing or regret. Attachment to legacy and form. Alma-Tadema's paintings sought to preserve the grandeur of classical civilization, but his works also reflect humanity's yearning for the lost splendor of history. The Buddha taught that attachment to legacy or beauty perpetuates suffering. Legacy is bound to time, and beauty fades with impermanence. Freedom arises when the heart lets go of all craving and clinging. While Alma-Tadema celebrated the splendor of form, the Buddha revealed a path to liberation beyond form. The unconditioned is free from all arising and ceasing, beyond the grasp of beauty or decay. Sutta twist. The Buddha might share the Phena Pinju Sutta, which compares forms to foam on water. Forms are like a lump of foam, insubstantial and fleeting. Seeing this, the wise are freed from attachment. This comparison contrasts Alma-Tadema's celebration of beauty, nostalgia, and legacy through art with the Buddha's teaching of impermanence, renunciation, and the peace beyond all forms. John Waterhouse is next. John William Waterhouse versus the Buddha, the painter of myth and mastery versus the teacher of insight beyond illusion. Contrast in myth and liberation. John William Waterhouse, famed for his pre-Raphaelite paintings, brought myth and legends to life with ethereal beauty and emotional depth. His works, such as The Lady of Charlotte and Hylas and the Nymphs, evoke longing and enchantment and tragedy. He once wrote, "Art speaks to the soul when it veils the truth in beauty." The Buddha, while acknowledging the allure of myths, taught the path beyond illusion. The veils of beauty bind the heart. True peace arises when one sees through illusion to the truth of impermanence. Quirk and emotional resonance. Waterhouse's paintings often feature solitary figures in poignant moments, capturing the fragility of human emotion. His attention to detail and views of light and color evoke a dreamlike quality. The Buddha, while compassionate to human emotion, encouraged transcending it. Emotions arise like waves on the sea, impermanence and fleeting. The wise observe them without clinging or aversion, finding peace beyond all feeling. Attachment to beauty and longing. Waterhouse's art reflects humanity's yearning for connection and transcendence through beauty and story. His depiction of tragic heroines like Ophelia and the Lady of Shalott symbolized the pull of longing and loss. The Buddha taught that such attachments perpetuate suffering. Longing binds the heart to sorrow. Freedom arises when the heart lets go of all craving, resting in the unconditioned, while Waterhouse explored beauty as a gateway to the soul. The Buddha pointed to liberation beyond beauty and form. All beauty fades, but the peace beyond form is unshaken. Sutta twist. The Buddha might share the Lakkhana Sutta, which explains the nature of impermanence in all forms. Forms arise and pass like mirages. Seeing their nature, the wise abandon clinging and find freedom. This comparison contrasts Waterhouse's exploration of beauty, longing, and myth through art with the Buddha's teaching of impermanence, insight, and liberation beyond illusion. William Blake is next. William Blake versus the Buddha. The visionary poet versus the teacher of insight beyond vision. Contrast in visions and liberation. William Blake, the poet and artist, created vivid imageries of spirituality, morality, and the cosmos, often challenging conventional religion. He wrote, "If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite." Blake sought truth through visionary experiences and creative expression. The Buddha, while recognizing the mind's capacity for vision, taught that true freedom arises not through visions, but by seeing clearly beyond all mental constructs. Visions arise and pass, bound by conditions. The wise let go of all appearances, resting in the unconditioned. Quirk and mysticism. Blake's works, such as Songs of Innocence and Experience and The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, blend mystical symbolism with social critique. He declared, "I must create a system or be enslaved by another man's." The Buddha, while compassionate to human systems, cautioned against clinging to any frameworks. Systems in visions are tools for understanding, but the truth is seen only when the mind lets go of all constructs and attachment to creativity and morality. Blake viewed art and morality as intertwined, seeing creativity as a divine act. He remarked, "I am under the direction of messengers from heaven daily and nightly." The Buddha, while valuing mindfulness and compassion, taught that liberation lies beyond attachment to morality or creativity. Creativity inspires, but clinging to creation binds. True peace arises when the heart lets go of self and all it creates. While Blake embraced visionary creativity, the Buddha revealed freedom through insight and renunciation. The unconditioned is beyond creation, destruction and form. Sutta twist. The Buddha might share the Arya Pariyesana Sutta MN 2.6, which is 26. The wise see not visions of frameworks, but the cessation of craving, resting in the peace beyond all arising. This comparison contrasts Blake's visionary art and mysticism and moral creativity with the Buddha's teaching of insight, impermanence, and liberation beyond constructs and visions. Alfons Mucha is next. Alfons Mucha versus the Buddha, the designer of elegance versus the teacher of liberation beyond ornament, contrast in beauty and liberation. Alfons Mucha, the master of art nouveau, is celebrated for his intricate designs and harmonious compositions that elevated every detailed everyday objects into works of art. He declared, "Art exists only to communicate a spiritual message." Mucha saw beauty as a means to inspire and uplift the human spirit. The Buddha, while valuing the power of inspiration, taught that true liberation lies beyond ornamentation and sensory attachment. All beauty, no matter how refined, is impermanent. Freedom arises when the mind sees beyond appearance to the unconditioned peace. Quirk and refinement. Mucha's works, such as his Slav epic and commercial posters, combine elegance and symbolism, emphasizing unity and the spiritual essence of life. He stated, "The mission of art is to express the eternal in the moment." The Buddha, too, acknowledged the eternal, but cautioned against clinging to forms or symbols. Forms reflect impermanence. The wise see through symbols to the truth that lies beyond attachment, to design and transcendence. Mucha's art sought to merge the sacred with the everyday, elevating both through design. His focus on beauty and harmony reflects humanity's longing for transcendence. The Buddha taught that such longing binds the mind. Beauty and design inspires, but also bind when clung to. The heart finds its deepest peace in letting go of all craving, resting in the unadorned truth. While Mucha celebrated the elegance of creation, the Buddha revealed liberation beyond creation and decay. The unconditioned is beyond form, design, and ornamentation. Sutta twist. The Buddha might share the Fena Kanjunaman, comparing foams to bubbles and foam, like a bubble, and insubstantial and fleeting. Seeing the nature, the wise are freed from attachment. This comparison contrasts Mucha's celebration of beauty, design, and harmony with the Buddha's teaching of impermanence, insight, and liberation beyond all attachment to form and ornament. This brings us to the end of our list. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of fascinating encounters between the Buddha and figures from Western culture, from Lord Melbourne, mentor to Queen Victoria, to Persephone, Ovid, Cerse, Ulysses, Scylla, Sir Lawrence Alma-Tadema, John Waterhouse, William Blake, and Alfons Mucha. Each brings a unique perspective to this imagined dialogue. If you enjoyed this journey, please like, comment, or share your thoughts. Until next time, take care and keep seeking wisdom in unexpected places. Goodbye for now.